We now turn to Mossarat Qadeem, and after these are our last two speakers, and we will turn to you. She not only saves lives on individual basis, but she saves families. She works directly with mothers of radicalized youths using her skill as a communicator and her detailed knowledge of the Quran. She rescues young men, including potential suicide bombers, who are also being exploited by extremists, and ensures that they receive job training. Ms. Qadeem founded PAIMAN Alumni Trust, a nonprofit group promoting specifically socio-political and economic empowerment of marginalized Pakistanis. I give you Mossarat Qadeem.
Thank you very much. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. I'm really happy and honored to be invited to speak to this august house. My organization, PAIMAN Trust, started working as a movement which we call Let's Live in Peace in 2007, at a time when public awareness of the destructive socio-cultural impact of violent extremism on Pakistani society had not gone beyond mere media estimates of the dead and the injured. The general public understanding and appreciation of the wider issues was either missing or extremely weak. Most mainstream analysis of the rise of religious extremism and terrorism in Pakistan were conducted and were couched in traditional foreign policy and security narratives, which carried little investigation into the root causes as well as the socio-cultural impact of this violent extremism on individuals and communities, especially on women, youth, and children. And it was in this context that PAIMAN started its movement of engaging youth and women in the conflict-prone and conflict-affected communities of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and federally administered tribal area, the area which border Afghanistan. We started working with the youth, the educated ones, initially, but in the process we found out that the educated youth definitely needs to be engaged in countering violent extremism strategies and programming, but there is more to do at the community level, and for that we developed a program where we included the communities in the process as a whole. We started the program of engaging the mothers at two levels. We knew that it is a mother who understands and registers the first sign of resignation and anger in her child if he goes the wrong way. So we build her capacity at two levels. In our part of the world, it is so difficult to take the women out of the house. So we invited them, we attracted them through offering them the livelihood skills. We build her competencies and offer them the livelihood skills so that they are in a position to earn something. Because we believe that when a woman starts earning, she's in a position of authority, she can ask questions. In the second phase of this process, we build her critical thinking. We gave her the skills to negotiate, to dialogue, and also give her the skills to ask questions if her son goes the wrong way. It worked because these women were now empowered. They were now in position to start talking to their children where they went, what they have been doing, who are their friends, why they are bringing a mobile which is worth 5,000, which they can't afford at all. And these were some of the questions that they started talking to their children about. It was the first step in the right direction because through these mothers, we then approached their sons. And the sons were radicalized. Some of them were vulnerable. Some of them were the sympathizers of the extremist. And when we approached the sons, you have to keep it in mind, these sons we approached through the mothers. Bringing them into a process of de-radicalization again was a very, very challenging task for us, because they were being attracted to the other side by transforming their hearts and mind, and it took them years to engage them by the other side. For us, it was another challenging task because we were asking them to voluntarily join PAIMAN's movement of de-radicalization, engagement, and transformation. But the agency of mother played its role. Secondly, the process that we adopted was threefold. One, we actually built the trust of the communities. We were there in the communities. So it was through this community mechanism that they brought the boys to us. Secondly, it was the boys with whom we were working, and we had established peace groups, the mothers' peace groups and the youth peace groups, who were instrumental in identifying the categories of boys we really wanted to work with. So the de-radicalization of the three categories of boys we started in 2008. And it's a long process. I'm just going to give you a few points about it, how we did that. We start with the self-assessment because the extremists usually work on their minds and hearts. So to counter the strategy, we use the same tactics. First, we started with the self-assessment, the self-reformation, and then build their critical thinking so that they should know what they have gone through and why they are the ones who have become the instrument in making these suicidal attempts or, of course, attacking or carrying out these violent extremist acts. So the critical thinking was very, very important. But then the challenge came in the form of the narrative that they were transformed through. And that narrative was derived from a particular text of the Quran. We used the text of the Quran within the context, not without the context. That is very important because the interpretation that they chose, the other side, the extremist group, was very selective. We came up with a counter narrative. We came up with an alternate narrative. And we started talking to them in the language of the Quran, but within the context. The transformation is always difficult because we started working in the same way as the extremists did. We transform their hearts and minds through a process. We gave them psychosocial counseling. We make them to understand that it is the love for themselves that comes first. It is the love for their families, which is the love for their community and their countries, which is very important. It helped, and today we can claim that we were able to transform 900 boys. We have de-radicalized them, we have rehabilitated them, and we have reintegrated them into their societies. It was not that easy. It was very, very difficult. But it was done through a process because we engaged, we built the capacity of 10,700 male and females, both educated, illiterate, uneducated, semi-illiterate, very qualified and professionals. And with the support of the community, we were able to make inroads into those communities where it is very difficult to take the radicalized youth and transform and engage them in healthy activities. This is one of the models that worked, and we can just say that our success rate is 99.7% because we lost in this whole process of de-radicalization only 3 boys to the extremists. They went back. Why it worked? It worked because and people ask us, what is your model? How you made it? After transforming and after working with thousands of community members, we came to a conclusion that unless and until you don't include and involve the communities in the decision-making, in taking the ownership of their security, of the de-radicalization and the countering violent extremism initiatives, the extremist will succeed. They will never fail. So you have to have enlightened communities. You have to have the communities who really own the whole process of keeping an eye on their surroundings. You have to have vigilant communities keeping an eye on their children and on their on the various groups who are there in the communities. So we can rightly say that our model is indigenous, it is innovative, because we are not only engaging the mothers, we are not only de-radicalizing the youth, but we are actually engaging the communities, building their capacities in how to counter the violent extremism in their areas, how to actually transform the conflict in their areas, and how to build peaceful communities. Our model is rooted in the cultural milieu and religious traditions. We are leading the fight against extremism by challenging the root causes. We walk into extremist houses, into their schools and madrasas and workplaces. We speak to those who feel that they have no alternative. We make community realize that they have a role to play in the security, de-radicalization, and countering violent extremism of their areas. We at PAIMAN believe that the path to counter violent extremism has to be paved with reconciliation, sharing, and community ownership. Our model of peace groups we call Tolana. We have two types of peace groups. One is Mothers Tolana, and the other is Youth Tolana. Tolana in Pashto means group or together. We can't use the word peace in our part of the world because it is too challenging or inviting the attention of the other. So this Tolana is basically an internal community mechanism which helps promote practice of peace, dialogue, and countering violent extremism from the inside. And the basis of our peace groups, Tolana, is engagement. Its virtue is protecting its soil and its interest. Its commitment is to bring peace and harmony for every individual, the community, and the country. Tolana today has become a movement who is working against all odds in a non-violent manner to address violent extremism. We can claim today that we have prevented thousands of youth from becoming extremists. We have helped them in rehabilitation and reintegration by creating awareness among community members, by making them vigilant, by building the capacity of youth in conflict transformation skills, community mediation, dialogues, and networking. We believe that we have to win this battle, but it can't be won alone unless and until the government, the civil society, and the communities work hand in glove to address this issue. And I only have to make two suggestions here. One, that the UN can really help the countries because it is a platform that is that provides a common platform where the experts, the practitioners, can come together and share their experiences, insights with the rest of with the member countries, and they can work with the individual countries, taking the best practices, keeping the best practices in front. Secondly, I think what we learned in the process of this engagement, peace education is not important, but it is crucial for today's world. We need to make education more inclusive. We need to make the intra-cultural, intra-faith, and interfaith processes as a part of the education, and I think this also can be done through the United Nations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mossarat.